Shalom, giving all praises unto Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Raha, Hodash. Honors be to the elect elders of the nation of Israel that do labor and teach his truth with all truth and sincerity. Shalom to you, Akim, you hopeful elect on the highway and hedges, making your body a living sacrifice, according to Romans 12 and verse 1. Shalom to you, sincere believers, which consist of men and women. Shalom, Brakatham, and as always, Abad Babal. This is your brother Zakar Aban coming back with another video. This will be, I guess I would entitle it like a prelude. Okay, so as far as the kingdom that was ruled by Solomon, and then if you can receive it, who is Yahweh Shai, that was pretty much what you'll call a prelude. All right, so this will be Micah 4 and verse 1, starting from the top. But in the last days it shall come to pass that the mountain of the house of the Yahweh shall be established in the top of the mountains. Now, when you get that word for summit, all right, summit, which is likened unto a mountain, so I can grab it real swift. Should be already, yep, beautiful. It says summit, the highest point of a hill or mountain, a meeting between heads of government. And who will be the head of government in the book of Revelation 7? All right, I'll grab it in just a second. Right, it says the highest point of a hill or mountain, a meeting between heads of government. It got summits, highest in the Latin, top. Okay, so this is the highest point of the government, the top of the top. All right, and we understand the top people of the nation of Israel are who? Let's read it here in the book of Revelation chapter 7 and verse 4. Right, and right here in the blue letter it got the 144,000. And I heard the number of them which were sealed, and there were sealed 144,000 of all the tribes of the children of Israel. Of the tribe of Judah were sealed 12,000. Of the tribe of Reuben were sealed 12,000. Of the tribe of Gad were sealed 12,000. Okay, and so-called Negroes and so-called Native Americans being in the same region is not by mistake. For the most side, all right, Judah, the so-called Negroes, and Gad and Reuben, to all, if you look at it, just do your research, you will see that the Negroes and Native Americans are all in the same region. As a matter of fact, you have a lot of so-called blacks, which are the tribe of Judah, that pretty much intermingle with the tribe of Reuben, right? If you do your research, went down to the Florida region. Okay, so the tribe of Asher was still 12,000. Or the tribe of Naphtali were still 12,000. The tribe of Manasseh were still 12,000. Or the tribe of Simeon was still 12,000. The tribe of Levi was still 12,000. Or the tribe of Issachar was still 12,000. Or the tribe of Zebulun was still 12,000. Or the tribe of Joseph were still 12,000. And Joseph, or you can say Ephraim, that name is pretty much interchangeable. We're still 12,000. The tribe of Benjamin was still 12,000. So the point I'm bringing up here is that this is the highest point of the government. Okay, as we grab the top of the mountain in the book of Micah chapter 4 and verse 1, just pretty much just showing you that that is top government. Because when you say the elect, that's absolutely true. But even within the 1/3, the head of the 1/3 will be the 144,000, 12,000 out of each tribe. Okay, so Micah 4 and verse 1 start from the top. But in the last days it shall come to pass that the mountain of the house of the Yahweh shall be established in the top of the mountains, and it shall be exalted above the hills, and people shall flow unto it. Okay, so this will be what the top government. So let me grab this in the book of Matthew chapter 19 and verse Salaki, bear me 1 second. This comes to mind. Matthew chapter 19 and verse, let's start at verse 27. Okay, but verse 28 is the point. It says the disciples' reward. Okay, so these will be the ones that will be following Yahweh Shai, or as it says in the book of Revelation 14, follow the Lamb wheresoever he goeth. And it reads, then answered Peter and said unto him, behold, we have forsaken all and followed thee. What shall we have therefore? All right, having no parts of this world. All right, and only a select few will not be in love with this world. They will not be in love with this Edomite rulership. Excuse me. Let's I want to grab this real swift. See if I can find it. Salakia. Bear with me 1 second. Yep, First John chapter 2 and verse 15. Right, and right here, as you can see on the blue letter, it said, "Do not love the world." They say, "Love not the world, neither the things that are in the world. If any man love the world, the love of the Father is not in him." Okay, for all that is in the world, the lust of the flesh. For all that is in the world, the lust of the flesh and the lust of the eyes and the pride of life is not of the Father, but is of the world. Is what is of the world. And the world passeth away and the lust thereof. But he that doeth the will of Adonai Yahweh abideth forever. And doing the will of the Most High is pretty much keeping the commandments, doing what he asks Jake's Israelites to do. Okay, in the book of Ecclesiastes, should be chapter 12 and verse 13, right? Keep the commandments, for this is the whole duty of man, according to scripture. So this is back to the book of Matthew, chapter 19 and verse 27. Then answered Peter and said unto him, Behold, we have forsaken all and have followed thee. What shall we have therefore? And Apostle Peter is the head of the church. All right, he's the head apostle. And Yahushua said unto him, Verily I say unto you, that you which have followed me in the regeneration, when the Son of Man shall sit in the throne of his glory, you also shall sit upon 12 thrones, judging the 12 tribes of Israel in the regeneration. So pretty much when you come back, okay, because the spirit of the prophets is subject unto the prophets. And let's prove that real fast. All right, it's not by mistake that you are out here preaching this word, or you are out here being a believer. Okay, it's all because at one time you had this wisdom in your previous life. So let me grab this real swift. Salakia, bear with me 1 second. Okay, it's first. Yep, so 1 Corinthians chapter 14 and verse 32. And it reads, and the spirits of the prophets are subject to the prophets. So the regeneration or reincarnation, pretty much the same thing. So in your reincarnation, when you come back, all right, you will be doing pretty much the same thing, right? If you was a believer then, you will be a believer now. If you was a prophet then, you will be a prophet now, all right? So once again, 1 Corinthians 14 and verse 32, and the spirits of the prophets are subject to the prophets. So when we go back here in the book of Matthew, chapter 19 and verse 28, and Yahushua said unto them, Verily I say unto you, that you which have followed me in the regeneration, when the Son of Man shall sit in the throne of his glory, you also shall sit upon 12 thrones, judging the 12 tribes of Israel. And this throne is ultimately the throne of David. All right. So not only can you say the kingdom of heaven, but you also could say the throne of David. And within that, you're going to have joint rulers, all right, heirs. Okay. So back to the book of Micah, chapter 4. And now we can go to verse 2. So now we understand that, the top mountain are the 144,000, right? That's the top government above all people. All right. Even and once again, even above other Israelites as well, because you're going to have a hierarchy. All right. You're going to have, top Israelites. It's not far-fetched. We have that now. We have that now. You got Jakes that have sold out, and you got these different Israelite celebrities, right, that are pretty much, the top. They even call stars And we know stars can be what very symbolic. So a lot of our Israelites, brethren and sisters that are in that Hollyweird or Hollywood as they call it, right? They are, they will be the top in this world. But in the kingdom to come, the ones that have followed the Lamb, wheresoever you go, will be the top. Okay? So Micah 4 and verse 2. And many nations shall come and say, come and let us go up to the mountain of the Yahweh, and to the house of the power of Jacob, Yaqub, and he will teach us of his ways, and we will walk in his paths. For the law shall go forth of Zion, and the word of the Yahweh from Jerusalem. So let's break this down. It says, and many nations shall come and say, come and let us go up to the mountain of the Yahweh. So the wisdom, the knowledge, all belongs to the nation of Israel, first and foremost. So let's put that in perspective. Let's go to the book of Deuteronomy 4 and verse, let's see. Let's start verse 6 is the point, but let's start verse 4. So Deuteronomy 4 and verse 4. But you that did cleave unto Yahweh your power are alive, every one of you this day. Okay, and the ones that will be cleaving to Yahweh by Hashem Yahushai in these last days will be the elect, will be the government. Okay, the rulers to come. All right, not get off topic, but the ones that people say are, less than, or, they got a new thing that say, they may call you Dusty, or they may call you Bums, or whatever name they have for you. Those are the next rulers. And how do we know that? The Most High says that he chooses the foolish things of the world to confound the wise. And the Most High not a man that he shall lie. So I believe what Yahushai says. So Deuteronomy 4 and verse 4. But you that did cleave unto the Yahweh your power are alive, every one of you this day. Right? And those, and once again, the elect is going to be found to be victorious or receive them palms in their hands. And when you go to that palm, it means being victorious, all right? Overcoming. You were the ones that was, although you caught all hell, right? You carried your cross, but you were endured unto the end. You cleave unto Yahweh B'Shem Shai. Behold, I have taught you statutes and judgments, even as Yahweh my power commanded me, that you should do so in the land where do you go to possess it. And then right here is Moses speaking. Now, Moses was a king, okay? He said, behold, I've taught you statutes and judgments, even as the Yahweh my power commanded me, that you shall do so in the land where you go to possess it. And now we actually going to get this land back, okay? The land, the headquarters will be Jerusalem, but we also going to inhabit it different regions, all right? But, the headquarters will always be Jerusalem. Always. Deuteronomy 4 and verse 6. Keep therefore and do them, for this is your wisdom and your understanding in the sight of the nations. Now, I got to hold that 1 second. I got to hold that. It said that this is our wisdom in the sight of the nations, right? Now, it says Micah 4 and verse 2. That's what brought me here. And many nations shall come and say, come and let us go up to the mountain of the Yahweh, and to the house of Jacob, and to the power of Jacob, and he will teach us of his ways, and we will walk in his paths. And once again, only the nation of Israel, right, have this wisdom. Only the nation of Israel. It says, keep therefore and do them, for this is your wisdom and your understanding in the sight of the nations, which shall hear all these statutes and say, surely this great nation is a wise and understanding people. And this is only the nation of Israel. The Most High made an agreement, right? The covenant with Israel. Okay, from Abraham to Isaac, and from Isaac to Jacob. Now, it says, for this is your wisdom. Now, to put it in perspective, let's read Deuteronomy 4 and verse 1 to show that this is only speaking about Israel, because a lot of different Christians and different religions get all twisted in the mind and think that they can some way or another just keep the commandments and they good to go, which ultimately is not for them. Right? The Most High is only dealing with a select few. He's not even dealing with all Israel. So this is Deuteronomy 4 and verse 1. Now therefore hearken, O Israel, unto the statutes and unto the judgments which I teach you, for to do them, that you may live and go in and possess the land which the Yahweh power of your fathers giveth it you. All right, give it you. Fathers, once again, I just quoted it. I just said it, which is Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, to your respective tribes. All right, to your respective tribes. So let's read this in a ladder. It says, and he will teach us of his ways, Micah 4 verse 2, and we will walk in his paths, for the law shall go forth of Zion and the word of the Yahweh from Jerusalem. Now, as I stated, earlier, that this is pretty much like a prelude. When I say a prelude, I'm speaking about the fact that Solomon's kingdom was peaceful. Solomon's name actually means peace. Shalom or Shalom. That actually means peace. So to prove that, let's go to the book of 2 Samuel chapter 7, and let's start verse 13. Matter of fact, start verse 12. So 2 Samuel chapter 7 and verse 12, but verse 14 is the point. And it reads, and when thy days be fulfilled, thou shalt sleep with thy fathers. I will set up thy seed after thee, which shall proceed out of thy bowels, and I will establish his kingdom. All right, this speaking about, David. So after David, pretty much do all the will of Yahweh B'Shem Shai, as it says, his days be fulfilled. That's and after David was Solomon. Okay. He shall build an house for my name, and I will establish the throne of his kingdom forever. Now, Solomon's kingdom, when you go into it, was only 40 years. All right. Matter of fact, I'm gonna grab that real swift, but it was only 40 years, so that's not forever. But once again, if you can receive it, Solomon is Yahweh Shai. Okay. Let me see if I can grab this real swift, see if I can find it. Bear me 1 second. So let's read this one again. Once again, he shall build an house for my name, and I will establish the throne of his kingdom forever. I will be his father, and he shall be my son. If he commit iniquity, I will chastise him with the rod of men. Now, Solomon, absolutely, without question, no debate, committed sin, committed iniquity. He went off, right? He started praising and worshiping other gods, all right, by the way of his wives and concubines, okay? Not, it's no issue with having a concubine, but it's a problem when you start following their customs, right? He said, I will be his father, and he shall be my son. If he commit iniquity, I will chastise him with the rod of men and with the stripes of the children of men. Solomon did not face any of these punishments. And we understand that Yahweh is not a man that he shall lie. Okay, but he put right here that this is what what happened if he went off. Okay, but once again, Solomon did not commit any of these actions. So who would this be talking about? It would have to be speaking about Yahweh Shai. All right, and I just grabbed in the book of Matthew chapter 19 and verse 28, the regeneration. Okay, all these words are pretty much just meaning what? Reincarnation. Every third and fourth generation you are born, right? And once again, Solomon only ruled 40 years. So when it says right here, he shall build an house for my name, and I will establish the throne of his kingdom forever. Solomon only ruled for 40 years. So this, would ultimately be speaking about Yahweh Shai. That's the throne. All right, that's the throne of David, Salakia. See if I can grab this here. So this is the book of First Kings 11. 1 Kings 11, start verse 41. It says, death of Solomon, and the rest of the acts of Solomon, and all that he did, and his wisdom, are they not written in the book of the acts of Solomon? Let's grab that word, let's grab that definition for Solomon. You know, like I said, this means peace. You know, like shalom or shalom or shalom.
Strong's H 8010. Shalomo. Shalomo.
Okay, you know, they say a whole lot different, you know, but pretty much Solomon equals peace. All right. So that's, you know, that's the definition of Solomon. And it reads, not written in the books of the Acts of Solomon, and the time that Solomon reigned in Jerusalem over all Israel was 40 years. Now, the time that Solomon reigned, it was peaceful. Okay. It was very peaceful. And the point that brought me here was Micah 4, to put it back in perspective, right? It says that, and many nations shall come and say, come and let us go up to the mountain of the Yahweh and to the house of the power of Jacob, and he will teach us of his ways, and we will walk in his paths. For the law shall go forth of Zion, and the word of the Yahweh from Jerusalem. Okay, and like I was saying, this was a prelude. So when Solomon, you know, ruled, this was a like a prelude, because they did the same thing for Solomon. Okay, they came up and what's that? 1 Kings 4 and 34. They came and inquired of Solomon's wisdom. 1 Kings in verse 4 and 34. And there came of all people to hear the wisdom of Solomon from all kings of the earth, which had heard of his wisdom. Okay. So if they did it then, they will be doing it now. I'm gonna read it again. And there came of all people to hear the wisdom of Solomon. And that's not going on right now. You know, I got to say this real swift. That's not going on. You know, these people that claiming to be Jakes, you know, the small hats, I'm going to leave it at that, because, you know, they get in their feelings. But the small hats that claiming to be Jakes, they are not fulfilling this prophecy. No one is going to any ish people, any small hats, and inquiring of them about some wisdom. They don't have no sense. All right. They're clueless. All right. Anything that is, you know, averse to Yahweh Shema Shai, you are nothing but in a congregation of the dead. You are nothing but a walking dead, like a TV show. So this is 1 Kings 4 and 34. Once again, and there came of all people to hear the wisdom of Solomon from all kings of the earth, which had heard of his wisdom. And this will happen again. Okay. Now this time it'll be a little different, because Solomon, all right, who is Yahweh Shai, this will be a eternal rulership. It won't be a 40-year, you know, a 40-year rulership. There will be no sin that will be taking place in the nation of Israel. Okay, sin, I repeat, sin will not be taking place in the nation of Israel. All right, because we will, you know, have those immortal bodies, starting off with the 144,000 first, you know, and the elect, and also the Israelites that be born to the elect. Those will be the 2/3 that be coming back. All right, we will not, you know, be in sin anymore. As a matter of fact, the scripture says that we will not teach our neighbors anymore. Okay, so this is only speaking about the heathens. Matter of fact, I gotta grab it. I'm gonna grab a few more. Bear with me 1 second. Let's go to the book of Hebrews, chapter 8. All right, there's one in Jeremiah, should be 31, but let's go to Hebrews 8 and verse 11. Straight, matter of fact, start at verse 8. And before we even start, right here says new covenant. We are not in the new covenant. I repeat, we are not in the new covenant. Can you die? Yes. Do you have wicked thoughts? Yes. Can you get sick? Yes. So you are not in a new covenant. The perks of being in a new covenant, you will have bodies that are not subject to any defects. So once again, we are not in the new covenant. I don't give a damn who say so. All right. Jeremiah 31 and verse 31. Behold, the days come, said the Yahweh, that I will make a new covenant with the house of Israel and with the house of Judah. And this has not happened yet. All right. That world to come, as it says in the scriptures, has not happened as of yet. We've got a few more things that need to, take place. World War III, which, is pretty much it's boiling. All right. You got different wars, but until America gets all the way in, okay, then you got the the Sea Hip, the Karagma, and then that'd be pretty much it. Okay, to Yahushua crack those clouds. Behold, the days come, said Yahweh, that I will make a new covenant with the house of Israel and with the house of Judah, not according to the covenant that I made with their fathers in the day that I took them by the hand to bring them out of the land of Egypt, which my covenant they break, although I was an husband unto them, said the Yahweh, meaning we was supposed to be joined to Yahweh Shem Shai. As I grabbed in the book of Deuteronomy 4, it says, to cleave. So we was supposed to be cleaving to Yahweh Shem Shai, not cleaving to these different heathen customs. Supposed to be cleaving to Yahweh Shem Shai. But this shall be the covenant that I will make with the house of Israel after those days, said the Yahweh. I will put my law in their inward parts and write it in their hearts. This has not happened. Okay? I will be their power. I will be their power, and they shall be my people, and they shall teach no more every man his neighbor and every man his brother, saying, Know the Yahweh, for they shall all know me, from the least of them unto the greatest of them, said the Yahweh, for I will forgive their iniquity, and I will remember their sin no more. So from the least unto the greatest. So from the top, from the 144,000 unto, the Israelites, the so-called, the 2/3 that would be reborn, through the elect, they would not have to be taught. They would be born perfect, because they're still Israelites. They just, on a lower level Israelites. That's just how it's going to be. Okay. He said, from the least of them unto the greatest of them, said Yahweh, for I forget their iniquity and I will remember their sin no more. So from last time I checked, we are still pretty much going out there and teaching. A lot of Israelites, I have seen a few. I have seen many, that say that they never heard of Israel. So the fact that you got some people out there that say that they're in the new covenant, which is a damn lie, because you still out there teaching. You still got Jakes, as wild as it may sound, in 2025 that still do not understand that they are the people of Yahweh by Shem Yahushai. With all the videos that goes out, right? Different social media platforms, TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, you got brothers everywhere. And you still got some people that still are blinded to this. Okay? So that shows you once again that we are not in the new covenant as of yet. So this is the book of Hebrews chapter 8 and verse 7. For if that first covenant had been faultless, then should no place have been sought for the second. This is this is Apostle Paul that's speaking. He pretty much just saying the same thing that Jeremiah said. So so for these bugged out tacky Christians that say that the Old Testament or whatever, it still applies. All scripture is given by inspiration and reproof. Okay. For finding fault with them, he said, Behold, the days come, said the outer one Yahweh, when I will make a new covenant with the house of Israel and with the house of Judah. Same thing we just read in Jeremiah 31 and 31 on down. Not according to the covenant that I made with their fathers in the day when I took them by the hand to lead them out of the land of Egypt, because they continue not in my covenant, and I regarded them not, said the Yahweh. For this is the covenant that I will make with the house of Israel after those days, said the Adonai Yahweh. I will put my laws into their mind and write them in their hearts, and I will be to them a power, and they shall be to me a people. Verse 11, as I was making a point, and they shall not teach every man his neighbor. Okay, our neighbor is our fellow brethren, all right, our family, our mashapak. Okay, they would not be taught, but the actual heathens will be coming to Israel to learn, and they ultimately won't have a choice. And why I say that, because the book of Zechariah 14 verse 12, I'll grab in just a second. And they shall not teach every man his neighbor and every man his brother, saying, Know the Adonai Yahweh, for all shall know me, from the least to the greatest. So like I said, from the greatest, from the 144,000 on to, you know, the I want pretty much the regular Israelites, they all gonna know Israel. I mean, they all gonna know Yahweh Bashim Shai. Okay. So like I was saying, these heathens won't have a choice but to submit according to scripture. Zechariah 14 and verse 12. Let's go straight to the point. And this shall be the plague wherewith the Yahweh will smite all the people that have fought against Jerusalem. Jerusalem is a people before it is a place. Their flesh shall consume away while they stand upon their feet, and their eyes shall consume away in their holes, and their tongue shall consume away in their mouth. And it shall come to pass, Zechariah 14 verse 13. All right, Zechariah 14:13 is the point. And it shall come to pass in that day that a great tumult from the Yahweh shall be among them, and they shall lay hold everyone on the hand of his neighbor, and his hand shall rise up against the hand of his neighbor. What is it, verse 14? Salakia. Okay, verse 16. All right, we just read on down. And Judah also shall fight against Jerusalem, and the wealth of all the heathen round about shall be gathered together, gold and silver, as I said, gold and silver and apparel and in great abundance. Reading NLT. Judah too will be fighting at Jerusalem. The wealth of all the neighboring nations will be captured. Great quantities of gold and silver and fine clothing. Okay, this is pretty much the nations being what conquered. And so shall be the plague of the horse, of the mule, of the camel, and the ass, and of all the beasts that shall be in these tents, as the plague. And it shall come to pass that everyone that is left of all the nations which came against Jerusalem shall even go up from year to year to worship the King, the Yahweh of hosts, and to keep the feast of tabernacles. And these are actually the nations. These are actually heathen nations. And like I was saying, they will not have a choice. And it shall be that whoso would not come up of all the families of the earth unto Jerusalem to worship the King, the Yahweh of hosts, even upon them shall be no rain. And you need rain, all right, for your crops, right, for your different plants or whatever. Okay, that's big. And if the families of Egypt go not up, which we understand these are Hamites, it come not that have no rain, there shall be the plague therewith. The Yahweh will smite the heathen. Once again, actual heathens that come not up to keep the feast of tabernacles. This shall be the punishment of Egypt and the punishment of all nations that shall come not up to keep the feast of tabernacles. All right, so pretty much if they're not following our ways, okay, that's going to be their punishment. All right, the Most High is going to withhold certain things. All right, this does not apply to Esau. Esau will be eradicated. Micah 4 and verse 3, scribe a tad bit more. And he shall judge among many people and rebuke strong nations afar off, and they shall beat their swords into plowshares and their spears into pruning hooks. Nation shall not lift up a sword against nation, neither shall they learn war anymore. Meaning that these war, these guns and different instruments, to kill, it's going to be turned into what? It's going to be pretty much flipped into agriculture, farming tools. All right. So the Most High is pretty much saying that them coming from a mindset of destroying to now just being being a slave. All right, working outside, working in the farms, working on a plantation, the same way they had us doing. Right. But they shall sit every man under his vine and under his fig tree, and none shall make them afraid, for the mouth of the Yahweh of hosts has spoken it. Let's read it in NLT. Everyone will live in peace and prosperity, enjoying their own grapevines and fig trees, for there will be nothing to fear. The Yahweh of heaven's armies has made this promise. The Yahweh of heaven's armies have made this promise. This is ultimately talking about what? Blessings. All right. You're going to reap whatever you sowed. Okay. You're going to reap plentiful. All right. Never again will someone pretty much take anything from you. It can be nothing but blessings. All right. Abundance. Verse 5. For all people will walk, everyone in the name of his power, and we will walk in the name of the Yahweh our power forever and ever. Though the nations around us follow their idols, we will follow the Yahweh our power forever and ever. All right. So in these days right now, Israel, the elect of Israel, is following Yahweh Bahasham Yahweh Shai. All right, we keeping our ancient customs. We drinking water out of our orange cistern, meaning we are keeping the covenants, the agreement that Yahweh Bahasham Shai has made with our fathers Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Okay, so those nations, are doing whatever, and also Israel too, because you got Israel that are pretty much likened unto the heathen. Okay. So, but we keeping, the old way. All right. As it says, seek the old way in the book of Jeremiah 6 and verse 16. So, that's pretty much it. That goes into, the rest of this goes into Israel's return, all right, from captivity. I just want to bring out a few points. Okay. I just want to bring out a few points. Matter of fact, I got to grab it where it says seek the old way. Right. Just to put it in perspective, because it said that the nations, all right, but we are pretty much keeping the way that Yahweh B'Shem Shai commanded our fathers. Jeremiah 6 and verse 16, it said, thus said the Yahweh, stand you in the ways and see and ask for the old paths, where is the good way, and walk therein, and you shall find rest for your souls. But they said, we will walk not therein. All right, so stand in the old way. Okay, so stand in the old ways. Go to the book of Jeremiah 8 and verse 8. For inquire, I pray thee, of the former age, and prepare thyself to the search of their fathers. And how do you prepare yourself to the search of your fathers? By studying these scriptures. All right, by studying these scriptures. So let's go to the book of John 6 and verse 63. All right, it says, it is the spirit that quickeneth, the flesh profited nothing. The words that I speak unto you, they are spirit and they are life. All right, so these words, and how do we find these words? In this book, in the Bible, right? In a book and in the Bible. So let's go to the book of Jeremiah, John 5 and verse 39. This is what I wanted first, but it's all good. John 5 and 39, and it says, search the scriptures, for in them you think you have eternal life, and they are they which testify of me, speaking about Yahweh Shai. So we are commanded to what? Search the scriptures. All right, and this is what the old, coming back to the old, the old way, right? As it says in the book of Jeremiah 6 and verse 16, the old paths. So search the scriptures, for in them you think you have eternal life, and they are they which testify of me. Okay, so this is what we are commanded to do. All right, and as I just grabbed in the book of John 6 and 39, because these scriptures are what? When you do this, this is what you pretty much are doing. Once again, it is the spirit that quickeneth, the flesh profited nothing. The words that I speak unto you, they are spirit and they are life. This is what leads to everlasting life. All right, when you keep the ways of Yahweh B'Shem Shai, rehearse the righteous acts. Judges 5 and 11. So I'm gonna end it there. I'm gonna give all praises and glory unto Yahweh Bahasham Yahweh Shai Bahasham Rahah Hodash. Honors be to the elect elders of the nation of Israel that do labor and teach the truth with all truth and sincerity. Shalom to you, Akim, your hopeful elect. They hit the highways and the hedges, making your body a living sacrifice, according to Romans 12 and verse 1. Shalom to you sincere believers, which consist of men and women. Shalom, Brakatham, and as always, a Baba Ball. DTA, on to the next, Lord willing. Adawan Ratzasah. Shalom.